Hey everybody, it's Pat, and I want to make a brief video, mainly because I'm going after some of the people my age. I'm 26 now and younger, and I know that our age, if the video is longer than like 9 seconds, they won't watch it. So I'm going to try to keep this brief, but it's important. And ever since I went to the Right to Life dinner a couple weeks ago in Petoskey, the fundraiser, man, they went in on Proposal 3, and I learned a lot. And I got fired up. I was very fired up back in June when the Supreme Court overruled Roe versus Wade. And I knew that legislation was going to be presented now that it was up to the states. And when you live in a state like Michigan, it's going to be some radical legislation, right? So the things that have been brought up are to demand our attention and definitely my age group. So just to get right into it, anybody who hasn't heard about Proposal 3, lots of you probably have, but you'd be surprised at how many people haven't. This is the most radical piece of legislation in the United States, maybe in the world, when it comes to abortion. I mean, unless you go to like North Korea or something, maybe. This is going to eliminate all parental consent. And I want to just, before I get into it, I was reading this thing from Michigan Bridge website, and this is by no means a conservative article. And the headline, it says, the effects on parental consent and other laws are murky. And well, obviously, right, that's the strategy. When you go to vote on November 8th and you read the proposal, it's just going to say something about reproductive freedom for people. It's not going to say anything about parental consent. It's not going to say anything about sterilizations or anything like that. It's going to be a very misleading proposal, which is why people are going to vote yes on it if they're even like somewhat sympathetic toward the abortion obsession in this country. So but the big angry part of this article was the spokesperson for the campaign. She said, this measure simply restores the rights that were lost under Roe versus Wade. Excuse me. That is hands down a lie. This is not restoring the rights that were lost under Roe versus Wade. This is rewriting the script on abortion from the bottom up. And it's going to make things much more radical. And everybody knows that, but she has to say this, obviously, so people will sign it. And I'll get into what I was going to say about even some of the pro-abortion people that shouldn't be voting for this. I'll do that in a minute. But this is not rewriting the rights that were lost under Roe versus Wade. This is going to allow late-term, partial-term abortions. It's going to allow for the termination of babies that have survived abortions. This is going to allow, of course, they're going to be mixing all of the LGBT stuff into the mix. So parental consent is getting tossed out of the window with sterilizations and puberty blockers and gender transition surgeries and stuff like that. So it's really a time where people with any sort of Christian conscience, and that's why I'm doing this as a Christian man, God is calling me and everybody else to step up and do something about this proposal, because what happened at the Supreme Court, hopefully, and I believe it will, save millions of babies' lives. But if this proposal passes in Michigan, we're worse off than we were before. So that's some of the content on the ballot. It is by no means restoring rights. It is enhancing them in a very drastic and religious way, as the abortion has become such a sacrament for people. What I want to say is, anybody in the community, especially in the churches, youth groups, if you have people in your charge as a pastor or youth leader or whatever, and they're 18 and able to vote, you have to talk to them about this, right? This is not something that gets passed by the wayside because you don't want to talk about it, because you don't want to bring up hard issues. This is, even just the other night, at the group, I asked people, how many people are not registered to vote? And there are probably 15 or so kids there, and 5 of them raised their hands. And trust me, I was 18, 19, 20, and I didn't care about anything either, but I do now. So I understand. So I'm not bashing anybody, but a lot of people aren't even registered to vote about this. So I think as leaders in the community, as Christian leaders, we have a responsibility to make an appeal to kids, young adults, teenagers that are able to vote, to really help them get registered to vote and inform them about Proposal 3. Because who remembers their first time going to vote and you probably didn't even know what a proposal was and you just skipped it or something and you only checked off the name of the politician that you knew. So definitely we need to be putting this out there for people to understand better. That's partially why I'm doing this video. The last thing I want to say is to all my pro-choice, pro-abortion friends and family, I love you dearly. But even with Proposal 3 being on the ballot, this is still something that as a pro-choice person, you shouldn't even be on board with. I mean, This is allowing parental consent to be completely removed from the situation. A 14-year-old girl can now be talked into going to get an abortion behind her parents' back, and everybody can be free from all legal ramifications, okay? Grown women who have abortions end up regretting them for the rest of their lives. How much more damage is that going to do to a 14-year-old girl? So clearly, this is a radicalization of some of the most radical things that have already been presented in our legislation, and it can't go through. The hope is there that it won't. That's the hope. I'm literally talking to everybody that I can to help them get registered to vote, to remind them, because the hope that I believe God has presented in showing that he's still active in the Roe versus Wade ruling that was overturned, it could all be undone and Michigan would be off worse than before. So when I was downtown in Petoskey in June at the Pride Parade that the library was putting on, I saw people walking around getting signatures for this proposal, and I didn't really know quite what was on it, and I knew that the rally was quickly turning into a pro-abortion fest. But when I started to look at the content on the proposal, it was so sad and maddening even to see the people going around and getting people's signatures on this just immediately, like it was just like abortion equals reproductive freedom. And so there's like 2 sentences of information on this, sign it, and everybody signs it, of course, because they don't know what's on it. And it was very sad to see people that have no clue the content immediately sign it. But that's exactly what they want, right? They want the law to be murky. They don't want to tell you any of the actual content. So this is a huge thing. I might even put out some more videos soon as we lead up to the election. But I wanted to put this out there. Number one, read the information. I'm going to put it on michigansaysno.com. I'll put the link with the video. Number two, people in the community that have influence on other people, especially in your churches, tell people about Proposal 3 because babies are being killed. And children are going to be damaged from this, the young people that are going to be doing things they should never do, but now doing them without parental consent. And third, even if you are sympathetic toward the abortion movement, this is still way over the top. Okay, so this is going to be some of the most radical legislation in the world, especially in our country, and it's going to be erasing a bunch of laws that have been at least keeping Michigan sane for a while. So that's my spiel. Be praying about it, be telling people, and if this proposal doesn't pass, that is a huge answer to me from God that he's answering the prayers of people that have been fighting for babies for years. So let's say no to Proposal 3. I'll put some links in the description that I have here, and we'll be talking to you guys soon.